right, guys. Apologize for starting a few minutes late. I had a little accident before, right before I sat down, or actually literally right as I sat down, and it's I don't think it's too big of a deal, but yeah, I thought I'd give an update tonight on the Great Bassoon and some of the progress and redesign that Jared and I have been doing. Hopefully, Jared may pop in. Uh, yes, Nando, I have your email. I'm not exactly sure how to respond to it. It may be better to message me directly on Facebook, and we can just have a chat that way. I think that'd be easier. You ask a lot of questions, and uh, I'm not sure how to respond to it. Anyway, so in the last stream, I had the Great Bassoon, and this is what we were calling Mark II. And okay, so what is a Great Bassoon? This is a bassoon pitched 1/4 lower than the regular bassoon, so it is in the key of G. Okay, so the uh, the Great Bassoon, as is, last time I showed it, I discovered we had some ergonomic problems. The playing position of the instrument would be here, basically. And as you can see, my left hand is way up in the air, and I'd like it to be lower. I'd like it to be about down here, where my left hand is going to be parallel to the ground, and my right hand just points down. So, Jared and I did a brainstorm session this week, and we decided that this joint right here, the upper wing joint that we're calling it, and the wing joint is in two pieces. So the upper and the lower needed to be redesigned. As is, it's just straight up and down. Well, I had known for a while that it's an inelegant design, just a straight 90 or 180 degree bend there. So we started just redesigning that whole joint, which meant that I think there was, and then there was a little bit of redesigning on the lower wing joint as well, and then some redesign of the boot, and then we're going to have to completely redo the bass joint because the bass joint, it has wrong measurements on it. Anyway, so we redesigned the entire wing joint, and as you can see here, this is the new wing joint. It is still in two pieces. Oh, got that. And that's part of the reason that it took so long. I was putting the string on here, and the other reason is I had a little accident before, and all the glue on this piece joining the three pieces. So it's one piece. So one piece, two piece, and then the curl up here is the third piece. They all came undone. So turns out the glue holding them was not on there strong enough. So that is definitely something that'll have to be taken into account in development. But at any rate, what I've got here is the new wing joint. This now is where the vocal is going to go in. So it's going to go in right here, and then take this little bend around and straight down. It's a lot more elegant of a design here. And it's also going to lower the whole instrument down physically, and it's going to make for better aerodynamics because there's no tight bend. It's all a very slow bend. So if I put it on to the instrument as is, so instead of it sitting up here, it now will sit right here. And it is completely within the balance point as is. Yeah, it was clean. I have a lot of laundry to do, but the sarcastic nature in me, yeah, said I needed to wear this shirt. Um, so yeah, it's sitting a lot lower. So instead of here, it's now here. And it feels so much better on my hands. It feels like a real instrument at this point. So, I mean, I can just kind of imagine how it plays. But so that's one redesign, and the other is on the lower wing joint. Um, so we'll compare the lower wing joints of the previous version with this version, and there's a slight difference. And that is the new version has a raised tone hole for the first finger. This is going to bring the first finger out 5 millimeters from the bore, which will mean that the finger will be closer to where the keys will be for the other 3 fingers here. So this one will still retain, be open. So, all right. I'll answer all questions here as soon as I finish the explanation. So, one of the interesting things is because of the riser here, we had to move the tone hole. So, you can see the distance between tone hole 1 and tone hole 2 is now really huge. By lengthening the chimney 5 millimeters, I had to change the tone hole upwards 15 millimeters. And the math on that is confusing. And when Jared and I were doing it, we were both kind of shocked at how much it moved. If we wanted a taller chimney, it would have to go up even further. So the benefit of having that is that when we are now in playing position, my left hand feels much more comfortable, and it's about the same height as the diameter of the bass joint. So the bass joint before was really chunky, and now it doesn't feel as chunky anymore. So it's much better on ergonomics. So 2 big design changes, and it really helps the ergonomics. Okay, now let's get to some of the questions that we've been having. So one of the questions is why the Greatbassoon instead of the Contra bassoon? It's not instead of, it's in addition to. So it's in the clarinet family, the best example here is you've got the contrabass clarinet and the contralto clarinet, or the great bass clarinet as I like to call it. They can serve different functions. This particular instrument has existed before. As far as we know, the last time one was made was about 1850. It's an instrument by Sam, S-A-M-M-E. It is currently in a collection in London. It's still playable. But no one has ever really made one since, even though composers have called for it. Instrument textbooks have talked about it, but no one's ever made one. So we're making one. As far as use, they're right. It's going to be a lot more agile than the contrabassoon, and it'll just kind of fill a different role. If you want to kind of understand it, go watch my video called The Missing Bassoon. Yes, so I expect the range would be between F1 and B4. So, in fact, the lowest note of this is going to be E1. We're actually going to be extending this down to written A, so it'll go down to E. What you're not seeing is the bell, and the bell is going to extend that much further up. So the whole instrument's going to be about 6 feet 8 inches tall, like 2.3 meters. Will the end product be entirely 3D printed, or do you have more standard manufacturing techniques? As of right now, the body's just gonna be 3D printed. With the new curve here, this part pretty much has to be 3D printed. There's not Well, you could do it with injection molding and take two halves and fuse them together, and you could do that. But you couldn't do that with the traditional technique of, say, boring it out. But you could do it with injection molding. Um, the rest of it could be done fairly easily with standard techniques. But for prototyping, the 3D printing is right now the way to go. Right now I have a new boot joint printing. Um, the problem with that is um, that I was 12 hours into the first print on it and it failed. It's a 30-hour long print just for the top half. And Jared and I are going to redesign the bottom half later this, or probably next week, because I have a new part coming. What we're going to do down here, the bottom, is to support it, we're going to put it on a cello peg. And I've got a cello peg on order. And since the cello peg sits into the instrument, we're going to put a block off to the side here, probably about an inch tall. And it's going to have a hole in it so that the cello peg will just rest, and you just sit it on the ground, and it takes all the weight off the hands. As is, it's not very heavy, but there's no key work on it. So that's... Xander says, I find it crazy that the Greatbassoon will be that tall. It is mostly going to be that tall because of the low A. The low A adds well over a foot, if not a foot and a half of height to it. Without the low A, it would, it'd only be about 5'6", between 5'6" and 5'10". So it'd be shorter than I am. So if it only went to B flat, not terrible, but you know what? If you're gonna make the instrument, go ahead and make it. Get that extra note down there, and so we'll see what happens there. But it's a huge improvement ergonomics wise. I love that now it's sitting low. As it was before, were I playing it up here, the bell would have been hitting my ceiling. I've got 8-foot ceilings. And so I could not have played this indoors without leaning over or, doing something. Is the keywork going to be 3D printed as well? No. The keywork will be standard. And we're going to be working on that. And I've got some... keywork design will come later. When can you start composing for it? I mean, if you want to start composing now, go ahead. I haven't even begun composing for it. That said, I really haven't written much at all this year, just because I simply have not had time. But, I mean, if you want to start writing for it, go ahead. Yeah. Ratchet, let me know what you've written. Talk about it in the Discord, and we'll discuss it. But I'm very, very pleased with the new wing joint. And big thanks to Jared. Hopefully he's still here and listening, because this is really a super, I think, elegant design, having this bend in it. So, all right, anybody have any other questions? I don't think I'm going to stick around too long tonight. I'm going to try and make sure I've got this re-sanded down. Definitely do not want that sandpaper. After the unfortunate breakage that happened. Note to anybody, look in your chair before you sit down. Idiot. Thankfully, I know how to repair. I have a... Do you think it'll play more similar to bassoon or contra bassoon? It's going to play... I think it will play really as a mixture between both of them. And it's going to take the good aspects of both. So contra bassoon does some things easier than regular bassoon. Bassoon does some things easier than regular contra bassoon. So I want to incorporate the easier aspects of both. The great thing here is I'm not beholden to tradition. Any tips for making a nicer looking finish for 3D printed instruments? Talk to Jared on that. The stuff he is 3D printing now, particularly 3D printing in wood filament, is absolutely gorgeous. And final version we may 3D print in wood. There's a few wood options that you can 3D print with, and we very well may try the final version in it's a PLA wood mix, and we're gonna see how that goes. But for right now, I'm just using standard black PLA for everything. I do a lot of sanding. Trick that Jared taught me is in the final sanding, I'm using, I think, a 1200 grit sandpaper and a little dab of oil on it. And I'm actually just using vegetable oil to kind of do a wet sand. And I'm going to have to redo that on here because of the new glue on it. But you just got the band orchestration book. Congrats. I assume you got that off of Amazon. So, yes. Lots of sanding and varnish. Yeah, and if you're doing ABS, yeah, Ryan, I know the Band Nerdcast has been taken down. I haven't updated it in a year, so yeah. I'm not too worried about it not existing anymore. I put all my efforts socially into YouTube. I think that's a better outlet for this kind of stuff. Anyway, yeah. So if anybody has any other questions about the Greatbassoon, feel free to ask. We should hopefully within the next maybe 2 weeks have the full printed instrument. The next step is I've got the new boot joint printing right now. We're going to redesign the bottom half of that to accommodate the peg. Then we got to do some tweaks on the bass joint. And this is actually going to get a redesign because I'm going to want it a little bit taller, and it's going to go ahead and add in the next tone hole here. And then we'll do the bell. And so I've decided we're not going to do the split bass joint just because the new crook here means that I can have a longer bass joint. And the case is still going to be about the size of a tenor sax case. Can I honk some notes on it? No, I can't because I don't have a vocal. I'm waiting on a vocal to get made. I do have confirmation that a friend of mine is going to make the vocal, so that's good. And we're just going to have to get him a final design. And that was, we needed to do the redesign on this, kind of figure out the angle. And I'm actually thinking that it's probably down and just, so straight down and then down maybe at like a 10-degree angle. Probably something like that. So, yeah. Yeah, Ryan, I'm not going to address that joke. It's pretty terrible. Anyway, yeah, so I think that's it for tonight. Real quick on this one, but I'm super happy with how this turned out, and the new boot joint should be ready in about 3 days because that's about how long it'll take to print it. Jared designed his so that it could take a regular bassoon vocal. Mine is not designed like that. Mine is designed to take a different vocal because the actual vocal length will be shorter than a normal bassoon vocal by like 10 millimeters or so. So yeah, Yeah, I'm not. I don't want to cut that corner in this stage. So yeah. Anyway, I think that's going to be it for tonight. And next live stream may be on the virtual symphony project because that's coming along. Okay, yeah, is the bassoon a transposing instrument? This one will be designed as a transposing instrument. So this one will be in G. It will sound a fourth lower than written, though you could easily, as designed, play it as a non-transposing instrument, just because the home key of this will be C. Whereas the bassoon's home key is F. So most people don't realize the bassoon is actually in the key of F. Well, this one will be in the key of C. So, yeah. Anyway, you can use the normal... Jared's right. It's not the right length or taper. Yeah, the bassoon's taper is 0.85 degrees, and this has a taper of 0.73 degrees. The Contra bassoon has a taper of 0.65 degrees, and Richard's subcontra bassoon is actually less than that. So, and perhaps one day after we're done here, we'll do a tenor bassoon with a correct taper on it. So, but yeah, that's there's a few design things in the future. I've been talking all day with someone about redesigning another instrument, so we'll see how that goes. But anyway, I'll talk to you guys later.